Well, how's it going, kids? Welcome to another Friday Live at 3 here in the studio. What's everybody up to this weekend? Some of y'all staying home working like I am, or has everybody already headed off to their various destinations? Well, there's just too many projects stacked up around the Talley house, so gonna do a cannonball right in the middle of it. Let's see if I can knock out some of these smaller ones. The big ones, yeah, I take care of those. But now there's like 10 small things that we haven't dealt with that I'm gonna jump on this weekend. Now, what have we been up into in the studio this week? Well, not a lot. Did a little bit of recording on our Honda Rancher, but mostly we've been working with let's call it the live system in here. New cameras, new laptops, different switchers, I mean, just all kind of stuff. So those little problems we've been having over the years, we just decided to hit it with a big old sledgehammer, and I think we're actually getting somewhere. So don't be surprised if Nathan, I don't even know where he is. He's controlling all this remotely, so he may at random just switch to a different camera. There's no telling what he's going to. Yep, there he goes. There's no telling what he might be up to. So we're having fun playing with our stuff. Oh, this camera, that all those parts you see on the table over there to the right, that is what was, I don't want to call it leftover, but yeah, I guess I can say that was leftover from that Can-Am X3 build that Tracy and I have been working on for the last couple of weeks. Well, I told you that we finished it. We boxed it up. You thought I was going to say we installed it in the unit. Not yet. We boxed it up and I shipped it out to an ATV park in Attica, Indiana called the Badlands. But not next week, but the week after, I'm going to fly out there, reunite with it, and then we're going to install it in the unit. I'm not going to tell you whose yet, but we're working on it. But he is a good friend of the channel and a partner, and he might be able to jump on the live with us next Friday, and you can find out who that is. But if you can't make it, I understand. Well, we all have busy schedules, but believe me, when we go to do the install, we'll have a team down there or up there to record it all, edit it, and then spit it out, I'm sure, on both of our channels. So it's hadn't even turned over the engine. So it's either going to perform flawlessly or it's going to fail spectacularly. What do y'all think? Well, I'm betting it's going to perform as it's supposed to. Now, speaking of performance, let's see if we can answer a few questions that got sent in during the week, and then whatever else you want to ask me today. And then we'll call it a week, and then go home and not relax, but do stuff. So let me bring up the questions that Hank sent to me a little while ago. I did read through them really quick, so I'm not completely having to do a cold call here. So Justin Miller, question, was riding last night and I heard a loud pop and a bad smell. Motor was still running. Okay. Have no gears. Stays put in park, but shifting into any gear, I have nothing. I'm no mechanic, but looking for a couple of ideas what it could be. All right, Justin, I'm going to scold you a little bit here. Year, make, model. Got to start with that every time. So I'm just going to assume this is some type of side-by-side or ATV. And I'm betting it's probably a CVT system, and that stands for constant variable transmission. And the way it pulls that off is it has a belt that rides in between two sheaves. And when those things fail, it's usually with a loud pop and a bad smell of rubber burning as it's getting churned up inside on the other side of that CVT housing. So chances are, yeah, you shredded a belt. You're not the first, and you certainly will not be the last. If you go around and remove in between those 8 and 15 bolts that are holding on that outside cover, imagine you're going to pull it back, and there's going to be a mess in there. So clean it out, check your sheaves, make sure they're not scarred up. Throw on a new belt the right direction, and then reset that internal trigger switch in case it got popped, and you should be good to go. Craig, we have a 2004 330cc 4x4 Outlander. It turns over fine, but doesn't start. We cannot get spark from the spark plugs. So does that mean there's an problem with the electronic ignition? Probably have to replace the whole unit. Don't jump to that just yet. That is after you've eliminated all the other possibilities. If that's the one piece that's left that hasn't tested right, okay, yeah, then go ahead and order it. But don't start on that end when there's so many other pieces you can look at first. I mean, you need to make sure that you've actually got power to the coil. You can do just a resistance test on the coil, and I think I've got a video that shows you how to do that, or at least will tell you if it's got a direct short or if it's got an open inside of the coil. Next, you need to determine if there's, did I say this? If there's power at the coil, because that comes directly off your ignition switch. Is your kill switch somehow or another causing this problem? I've seen machines, I'm pretty sure the Honda Rancher, no, not Rancher, the Recon 250, you can have the ignition switch on, but if that kill switch isn't in the run position, it'll sit there and spin over all day long, but it won't start. And that may be the case with the 4x4 Outlander. I'm not sure. The next thing I would look for is to see if it's getting that pulse from the pulsar coil. And so there's several other things you can look at that you need to determine before you just order another CDI. Otherwise, guess what? Those are not returnable, and you're kind of stuck with it at that point. So go through your checklist of everything else, then maybe order the CDI, but certainly not it first. RBL Jackson, hoping you can help me troubleshoot a problem. I'll do my best. When a fuel tank is less than about half full, the bike is sputtering and missing randomly. We almost didn't make it back home from our ride last night. As I come to a stoplight, it will stall sometimes also. Can't talk today, or can't read. It seems to be a fuel problem. Water in the fuel was my first guess. Probably not. Are there more than one pickup line in the fuel tank of an 1800C? Now, I assume you didn't give me the year, make, and model, but that's going to be probably a VTX then, Honda VTX, or I'm going to assume that it is. I'm going to try and do some research on the fuel filter swap also, but I would think it would do that at any fuel level if it was the filter. The problem started this season after a long sit over the winter, which I'm guessing might be related to the problem. Any tips or troubleshooting ideas are appreciated. All right, I'm assuming this is a VTX 1800, and that is a fuel injection machine. So on the earliest models, I think that's 2002 and 2003, your fuel pump is inside of the fuel tank itself. On the later models, up until whenever they stopped making it, 2008 or 9, I can't remember, the fuel tank, the fuel pump is all the way down low, down in the middle of the frame, down at the bottom. Now, why did they do this? I'm not quite sure. But chances are, even though it's only doing it once you get to a half a tank, it's probably that has to do with the filter, the sock, the filtering sock on the fuel pump, or the fuel pump is starting to go bad. And the reason I'm saying that is, well, think about it. You've got a 4 to 5 gallon tank up high, and it's got a fair amount of pressure when the tank is full, just the gravity pushing down on it. And that's probably allowing enough to get down there to the pump wherever it is, and then getting it pumped out to the injectors. As it gets lower, less gravity, less feed, less pressure, and it starts to falter. So that would help explain, if we're right, that it's either the fuel system itself has stopped up just a little bit, or that fuel pump is starting to fail, depending on which year machine you have. So just don't just immediately pull the fuel tank and expect to find a fuel pressure in there, a fuel pump in there. It might be down low. So just make sure you've got, what year you're dealing with as to where it's located. If in fact it is a VTX 1800, which I'm betting that it is. Terrence Case. I'll have to call you back. Not you, Terrence. Hey, John, I have a Suzuki Ozark 250, which I round around on often. I've noticed that the casing where the clutch gets so hot you can barely touch it. It's right beside the exhaust, but it seems the casing is hotter than the exhaust. Any ideas? Thanks. Well, it's probably a combination of, yes, the exhaust being in that general location, and you think on the Ozark, you've got the regular clutch plate system that actually activates and deactivates with the clutch lever, kind of like a Honda CT90 or something like that. Then you also have a centrifugal clutch right next to it. So you can sit there, you don't have a clutch lever itself. You can just sit there and it's just sitting there rotating. As soon as you give the gas, the plates come out, or the fingers come out to the outside of that clutch, and that starts your rotation. Now, those things, when they wear, they get hot anyway, but if they're starting to really wear on those clutch, I don't want to call them plates. They're more like fingers that come out and sling against the outside of that centrifugal clutch cup. If those are starting to get worn down, they're going to develop more heat. So I'm thinking it's a combination of one, your exhaust system's right on top of it, and two, that clutch, centrifugal clutch, is probably starting to wear out. Do those ever really completely fail? No, but one of your telltale signs I've noticed, especially on like Honda Recon 250s, is the oil. It just burns it up much quicker than when they're new. And I'll bet you that's going to be the case on your machine. You can do an oil change, put a couple 100 miles on it, and I'll lay odds it's probably black in just that short period of time that you went 200 miles. So I would say you're on your way to having to replace the centrifugal clutch on it, if you really do ride around on it that often. BB Bambino, hello, please help. Oh no. I have an Outlander 400 EFI with some problems. It starts okay, motor okay, loss of power at about 25 to 35 miles an hour. I checked the battery, the fuel pump, the air filter, he said it twice. Fuel pump, and filter, the air filter, the stator, and the charging relay. If I unplug the stator from the charging relay, I assume he means the regulator rectifier, ATV runs 55 miles an hour. If plugged in, the stator has limited power, has no error. It sounds like your charging system is definitely having an issue. Now, if this was any type of Honda, I would say, yeah, it's probably your pickup coil, because it runs in the same basically the same harness as your stator and the windings inside of it. What is probably happening, and you'll have to verify this if you have a voltometer, hook it up, let it run 1,500, 2,000 RPMs, see what your charging voltage is. I'm betting that your regulator rectifier may be going out, and because it's getting overdriven by the stator itself. So see what your charging voltage is, and then do a running test of your stator output phase to phase, and you should see at around 2,000 RPMs in between 25 and 35, maybe even up to 40 volts, but certainly no more than that. And it needs to be equal all the way around. Who knows? It could be just outputting on one or two phases and not that third. And that would really throw the charging regulator rectifier into a tailspin, and that may be what's happening with yours. Oh, let's see. John Prehart, I need some help with my 2003 660 Grizzly. The display was not coming on when turning on the main switch. I moved the wires a bit. Oh boy. Display came on. Later on, I heard the machine trying to start itself with the kill switch and main switch off. Turned on the main switch, and it started, shut off the main switch, and it continued to try and start. Kill switch would not shut it off. I had to disconnect the battery. I run into this one. We if you looked at our channel, we had a red Grizzly 700, and it was having the same type of issues. Now, it didn't take me too long to run it down, and I think we have a video on it if Hank can bring it up and drop it in there. The line for the wiring for the ignition switch, which was on the fender. I can't remember if somebody tapped into it or if it was damaged or it had been chewed on or whatever. But as soon as you hook up the battery, it would try to start, or if it wasn't trying to start, it wouldn't do anything. But it turned out to be just some damaged wires, and that's what's going on with yours. I can pretty much rest assured. Now, which part of your harness has been chewed on or burnt or broken or melted together, which I'm betting is the case for yours, I don't know. That's up to you to pull it apart. But yes, you definitely need to start tracing out your wiring instead of just jiggling it around, because best case, it's not going to run. Worst case, you could lose your whole unit by burning it to the ground. Not to scare you, but it's just reality. So go ahead and start running it down as to where this unwanted connection is happening. All right, well, that catches me up for last week. Let's see what Hank has brought into the chat for me to look at today. Oh, just one from Chris. Man, y'all are going to make it easy on me. Chris, hey, how's it going, Chris? Anybody? Well, I ain't going to say it. Chris is the one that got me this one. So y'all asked me where how you can get one of these. Well, you can't. You have to be friends with Chris R. Thank you, sir. 2004 LT A50DE governed flow jet, intake reducer, and exhaust plate. That sounds like a lot of restrictions, Chris. That doesn't sound like you. Has a long drawn-out bog mid-throttle. Sometimes it will get through and hit the power, but most of the time it won't. Why, Yoda? Me not sure yet. Also, the LTA 250 2-to-1 mix or different, pulled out the auxiliary and plugged the lines. Chris, you always give me the good ones, don't you? I'm not going to sit here and guess because I'm not super familiar with that LTA 50, and I know you probably went LT 450. Let me go look at the carburetor circuit on it, or the circuit diagram on it, and let me lead off with that one next week. I hate to make you wait, but you know that I will not let go until we figure it out. So let me do some serious research on it and come up with a solution. Sound all right to you? All right. Lincoln Marsh. Hello, John. Lincoln Marsh here. I have a 2019 Articat. You're going to have me at a disadvantage here as well. I'm not a big AC. I don't know a whole lot about AC, but let's see if I can help you. 2019 Articat M8000 C-Tech 2 engine. My question is, do you have to use Articat oil, or can I run something else like AMS oil? Thanks. Do you have to run the manufacturer specified oil? No, but you need to pay really close attention to the specifications that the manufacturer has laid out for that oil that they do put in the machine, whatever it is, whatever certifications and viscosity, that's all critical. Especially, it didn't matter much 15, 20 years ago, but as engines have gotten more and more performance and fuel economy conscious or worthy, or they've become more fuel efficient, they squeeze every little last bit out of these things, and they do that by even bringing back or designing the engines where they can run a lower viscosity oil, which in turn is less resistance, which gives you better fuel mileage. So just be cognizant of that when you say, all right, I want to go with this different type oil. You may not have the clearances to run a 15W40 when that's calling for a 5W30. I'm just throwing out just some average viscosities here, so just be aware of that. No, the short answer is no, you don't have to use the OEM oil. Me, I'm a fairly strong believer in that. they came up with those specifications through the engineering process and their testing. So just keep that in mind before you say, "Hey, I want to try this new oil." Just make sure it fits within the parameters of what the manufacturer suggests. And looks like Lincoln's got another one for me. Hello, John. Lincoln Marsh. Okay, we already read that one. Ask another. Another question is, what's the best way to clean an ATV engine after it's been sunk in water? Oh boy. So far, I've flushed out the engine with oil and seafoam, and that seems to be working well. With Lincoln, you're pretty much on it. Unless you're going to take it completely apart, it's almost impossible, to get everything out. But you flush it out with oil at least 2 or 3 times, and if you have a way to, depending on which engine is, to let the crankcase vent just go to atmosphere. Don't leave it like that, because dirt can get back in. Most of the time, it goes back up to your air box. Open up your air box, because what will happen is any moisture that's still in the engine, it eventually get heated up and then get expelled through, just steam, basically, through your vent system. Now it's going to take a little while, but it will get rid of it eventually. Other than that, just multiple oil changes, and like you're doing with the seafoam, I would only use the seafoam on the first change or 2. After that, I would do just oil, and it can just be the regular old generic, non-synthetic oil, because all you're wanting to do is just drop out as much as that contaminant as you can, and then go back to whatever use your cheaper oil for the throwaway, and then only go to for your final oil change, go to your regular oil, whatever that might be. Me, always like the semi-synthetic stuff. All right. And we've got one more from Grammy Sweets. We haven't heard from her in a while. Miss you, John. My son wants to rebuild a 1977 IT-175. Fantastic machine. I've got a 79 YZ-125 that's just been languishing. It's my personal one, languishing back in a storage container. Y'all think I ought to drag that thing out and go ahead and finish it finally? I mean, the framework's done in most of the plastics, but I just need to put the engine back together. I think I know a guy that could probably pull that off with an exploded diagram. Well, back to her question. Oh, he wants to rebuild a 77 IT-175. Should I buy it for him? Also, look amazing as ever. Thank you. The best way to learn is to sometimes just jump in there and do it. I don't know how old your son is, but last I heard, you were talking about your grandson riding. So let's assume that he's older than 10. Then I would say, because I started building engines at 12. So let's say he's in his mid-20s. Then sure, absolutely. An IT-175, depending on what kind of shape it's in. Hopefully it's not in a basket. But even if it is, the resources are out there where you can get it put back together. Just keep in mind, it is a 1977, and although Partzilla carries a whole bunch of parts, if we can't get them from the manufacturer, we can't get them to you. So something being that old, it's going to be more difficult to source the bigger parts for it. When you're talking about just air filters or tubes or tires or brakes or nuts and bolts and things of that nature, handlebars, even new plastics, yes, that's easy to get. But if you're having to replace a cylinder, a crankcase, that may get a little tough. But even at that point, the companies like Wiseco, they make replacement pistons. That's how they made their mark, was on older 2-strokes especially. So would I be afraid of it? Absolutely not. And it'd be a fun project for him, I'm sure. Well, all right, kids, that is going to wrap it up for me. So I'm about to turn off the cameras, shut off the lights, and head to the house. Well, a lot of good questions today, and Chris, I will come up with a plan of attack next week. Hank, just definitely make a note of that particular question so I can get back into it. Well, everybody have a great extended weekend, a great week, and God willing, we will do this all again a week from today. So everybody take care and thank you.